If you are an armed security guard, you can expect to be held to a higher standard. Hi, I'm John, founder and president of General Response. Before I get going and forget, hit that like and subscribe button for more informational videos on how conflict de-escalation training, knowledge, and skills would have made a lot of difference in a lot of these situations and incidences that I find in mainstream and social media. I want to talk about an incident that happened in early August in Ohio between an armed security guard and a gentleman he got into a loud verbal argument with. And I'll have the link to the story down below. Now, from what the news story says, security guard got into an argument with this guy. Apparently, an argument the security guard started, and then the security guard shoved this other gentleman, who then got up and got himself into a fighting stance, at which point the security guard drew his weapon. Anyone else think the security guard's wrong? The security guard was wrong. Folks, if you're an armed security guard, you're going to be held to a higher standard. You need to have the self-discipline and self-awareness to recognize when you can and cannot pull your weapon and when you can and cannot pull that trigger. And you sure as hell cannot be creating situations where you end up thinking that you have to pull your weapon to defend yourself. Now, from an employer standpoint, how confident are you that your staff and volunteers and security guards you hire have the discipline, awareness, and training and mindset to properly and effectively de-escalate a situation before they say and do something that actually escalates the situation? The incident just highlights the need to have proper training and a proper mindset. You know, there's no guarantee when you interview people. There's no way for you to really know how they're going to handle a stressful, volatile contact with somebody. But you can minimize the risk of them saying or doing something to make it worse by making sure they have training. And I mean training that's more than just watching a how-to video online or just sitting through and struggling to stay awake through a lecture presentation. In stark contrast, another incident involving a security guard who's also armed. Now, he told 3 gentlemen that they could not walk into the business unless they put on a mask. And they initially leave, but they come back and start beating up on the security guard, started assaulting him. And the security guard did his best to fight back. And then one of the assailants grabbed the baton from the security guard and started beating the security guard about the head and shoulders. Now, when that security guard started getting hit about the head and shoulders with his own baton, he finally drew his weapon, fired a shot, and the link to the story is down below. But if I recall correctly, one of the assailants was found later at the hospital with a non-life-threatening injury. Now, that security guard, God bless him, had the presence of mind, discipline, and awareness to recognize when and where he can pull his weapon. And even though he was being picked on and assaulted by 3 individuals, he kept it together and just tried to do hand-to-hand as best he could. It wasn't until one of them took a baton and started beating him with it about the head and shoulders that he drew his weapon. Now, folks, when you're being beaten about the head and shoulders, that is absolutely an application of deadly force. That is a potential lethal action right there. You definitely can defend yourself at that point. So folks, if you're going to be an armed security guard or armed anything, CPL holder and all that, you need to recognize you are going to be held to a higher standard. You need to make sure you have either training or at least the presence of mind to recognize and be very familiar with when and where you can pull your weapon to defend yourself.